Welcome back. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people for your Thursday, July the 20th, and arbitration starts today. So unlike last year, it looks like we're going to have multiple players going to arbitration, starting with Kurashev and the Hawks. The team and the player nowhere near on a contract, so we're going to arbitration. Once the hearing starts, Kurashev can't sign. So then you have your hearing, 48 hours until we know what the decision is from the arbitrator. And depending on the number, Chicago might be allowed to walk away. They might not. But at any rate, there cannot be a new signing. And if the Hawks don't like the amount of money for Kurashev, and if they can't walk away, I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to move him. Maybe not now, but at some point. Because again, I've talked about this when it goes to arbitration, it can get really ugly. A player and the team can say things that just sour that relationship further. Once you get to arbitration, the relationship's already at least a little bit strained. So we'll see what kind of numbers we get for Kurashev out of that. And of course, the Samsonov one is scheduled for tomorrow. That still has not been resolved. So yesterday, Vegas re-signs Dorofeev. Dorofeev's been good for them, and I think he low-key could have a very good year. 1 year, $825,000. The talent's there with Dorofeev. And so, I wish him all the best. There may be an opening there. There's, Riley Smith left. That's got to leave a job opening for somebody. And so Dorofeev definitely looked at points this past season like he was ready to be a regular. Maybe that time's on the way. Mike Hammond. Mike Hammond, a player out of the elite league in Great Britain. So I'm wearing a Belfast Giants jersey. It's the only EIHL jersey that I have. He has passed away in a car accident in Canada, age 33. Canadian, but had dual citizenship, so he played for Great Britain internationally and helped them get to the top tier at the World Championships, which makes a big difference when it comes to funding, when it comes to just public sphere and people paying a little more attention when you're against the top countries in the world. So he was really a big star for British hockey, and that's an absolute shame. So my condolences to his friends, family, and of course to fans that enjoyed watching him play for Great Britain and in Great Britain as well. This past season, he was in the EIHL. He's also played in the German league over the last couple of years too. So, it's tragic. These things happen. He was only 33 years of age, far, far, far too young. So transitioning from that is difficult. I will do my best. Want to talk about the Leafs a little bit here. So Ryan O'Reilly came out, and I didn't talk about this in a video on its own because I get where he's coming from. So when he opted to sign in Nashville and he was asked about it, he basically said there's two sides to every coin when it comes to playing in Toronto. He loves playing there and he loves the passion, but it is nice not to be under the same amount of pressure in that microscope. It's something I've talked about before. I do think that the amount of pressure in Canadian cities has always been there. And I can remember back to the 90s when players were signing with US based teams in part, and I understand there's other reasons as well, but in part because that fishbowl you're in Canada, it can be a lot less attractive. So if you can make the same amount of money or more somewhere else, and you don't have to deal with that scrutiny 24/7. And with Toronto, it is 24/7, 365 days a year. The amount of Nylander and Matthews speculation I've seen, the amount of poring over every single move that's made and the over analysis, it's really quite remarkable. And I can understand why a player would look at that situation and say, I think playing in Florida might be kind of fun. Playing in Anaheim, just playing somewhere where it's a little different and that pressure's not the same. If all 32 teams were analyzing to every single little degree the way that Toronto seems to, I'd have no shortage of things to throw on the board because there'd be players saying, I don't, this isn't fun. But I do understand where O'Reilly's coming from, and signing in Nashville made some sense. Nashville fans really appreciate players. So do Canadian fans too, but it can be tough. So when you're in a Canadian market and you're winning, parades are planned. I don't mean Stanley Cup, I mean just fans are really happy and excited, right? But when things go bad, it can be really, really ugly in Canadian markets. I understand there's other markets in the States that are like that, but yeah. And of course, one thing that's going to get talked about a lot too, Sheldon Keefe's in the final year of his contract. You look at the assistant coaches that got hired, Guy Boucher being hired. And immediately the news becomes, okay, so this could be the replacement for Sheldon Keefe. If you look at assistant coaches around the NHL, almost every team, it seems, has an assistant coach that has been a head coach in the NHL or is seen as a future head coach in the NHL. It doesn't necessarily mean that's a planned replacement if things don't work out. I'm sure there's contingency plans, but it's not really, a big deal. At any rate, I wanted your opinion on that because, again, I would understand why a player would look at that situation. They've got, say, a $2 million offer from Toronto, a $2 million deal from Dallas or Anaheim or wherever. And if you're looking at an opportunity to win, Toronto's high on the list. But if you're looking at, I'd like just a quiet, kind of a quiet place where it's not that 365 days a year scrutiny, you'd look more towards Dallas. So, anyways, just let me know your thoughts on that. Derek Grant, I mentioned Anaheim a couple times. Derek Grant, of course, playing with the Anaheim Ducks, I think, 3 different times? I know at least twice. But he has signed a 1-year deal with the ZSC Lions in the Swiss League. So the ZSC Lions signed Malgin to a 5-year deal. They give Grant a 1-year deal. Apparently, they're going to have some former NHLers on their team. That could make them pretty good. But at any rate, all the best to Derek Grant. He's from Abbotsford here, so hope he enjoys his year in the Swiss League. From what I understand, really, playing in Europe is fantastic. The money may not be what it is in the NHL, but the schedule is lighter. In some cases, the travel is a lot lighter, and it's an enjoyable experience for players as they get older to play over in Europe. It's something completely different. Now, one player that won't be playing this year is Nate Thompson. He has announced his retirement. He didn't play this past season. He retires 844 games played in the National Hockey League, 65 goals, 99 assists, 164 points. He played for 9 National Hockey League teams. So Nate Thompson, who was a good fourth liner in his time, had some third line minutes here and there too during his career, but solid foot soldier. Wish him all the best in retirement as well. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.